Hey guys, it's Molly. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a book rec video. Not just any book rec video. We are doing books set in New York City. I love New York City. I love books set in New York City. I love kind of like the ambiance of it, like just like the bustling around of one of the biggest cities in the world, at least in my, I don't know if that's a personal opinion. It's a city that never sleeps, has a lot of personality. So it's super fun to read books that are based in that city, in New York City. So I have some book recommendations to talk about. So let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I recently read this. I read this in October. I gave this 5 stars. Such a good book. This is a magical realism set in New York City, and Clementine just lost her aunt, and her aunt left her magic apartment. And the thing about the apartment is sometimes, very randomly, it'll slip 7 years into the past. So I think it's like the first time or the second time she's in the apartment, she walks into it and there's this random guy living in the apartment, and she's like, what the heck is going on? Turns out the apartment was like, we're going 7 years back. And then she ends up meeting this guy, and they kind of end up like having a connection. But the problem is he's stuck 7 years in the past, she's stuck 7 years in the future, and there's kind of like a dissonance, obviously, because she doesn't know him now, kind of thing. So there's like some issues with that. I love this book. The like just running around New York City. She works at a publishing office, and then the main guy is a chef, and you just get like all just like the fun, like New York in the fall. They talk about the subway, they talk about just like running around New York, like the different boroughs, that kind of thing. Lots of mentions of the subway. It's just like super fun and just like enchantment and romanticization of New York City. So next is Tessa Bailey, Wreck the Halls. I read this recently. I read this last month. This is a Christmas book set in New York City, and that's kind of like all I feel like I have to talk about. This follows Beat and Melody, and basically their moms were like rock stars, kind of like Daisy Jones and the Six, but they were like a duo, like Fleetwood Mac was like a rock duo. I don't know, but anyways, and they like broke up in the 90s. So Melody and Beat are like working together to get their moms back together, and you just get Christmas in New York, which is like the best ever, and it's so good, and I love the ambiance. And yeah. Okay. This is out of order. We have a little trilogy. I don't know if there's gonna be more than 3 books. I think there is in this series. But first we have King of Wrath, and then King of Pride, and King of Greed. And these are all in the King of Sin series, which is based in New York City, and it's like New York high society. So Gossip Girl, kind of, not really, but so good, and just the ambiance of high society New York City. Love it. Next, we have Before We Were Strangers. This is New York in the 90s, which is so fun, and it follows these 2 characters. What are their names? I don't know. And one of them is Grace. I think the other one's like Matt. Matt. Okay. Matt and Grace. And basically they both went to NYU together. Their senior year, they became like inseparable, like best friends. And then they like kind of lose touch. And I think it's 10 years later, he sees her again on a subway station, like at a subway station, right before she leaves. And he tries to get back to her, so he posts a misconnection on, I think, what was it? Not MySpace. I can't remember. What was it called? Craigslist. Like the misconnections on Craigslist, and he posts one and tries to like reconnect with her. This book was so good because it's honestly just like being young and stupid in New York City. Like the beginning, they are seniors in college at NYU, and they're both kind of like poor because like I mean they're like art students at NYU, and so they're doing like all that they can to save money. So they're like running around the subway, they're like eating really gross food, they're like donating blood, they're like just it's just so fun and I loved reading about it. And yeah, the romance wasn't great, but the New York City part was awesome. Okay, then we have 100 Other Girls. This is a literary fiction. This is not romance. Um, this was so good too. Honestly, this was like Devil Wears Prada, but like today. So this is about Nora, who she basically like doesn't have a job. She needs a job, living on her sister's like couch. So she's like, okay, I need to find a job, and she ends up going to this magazine called Vinyl Magazine, and she ends up becoming an assistant to one of the really famous editors-in-chief. Well, she lands herself basically in a turf battle between the media side of the magazine, like social media and online, and then the actual print. She's literally like in the middle because they're both battling each other to try and get like control. I read this like 2 years ago, I think, but I really enjoyed it. And I mean, it's based in New York City. So next, I have Lease on Love by Fallon Ballard. I feel like nobody talks about this book. This is just like a cute little romance book. I just found this at Target a couple years ago and read it, and I really liked it. I think it's like 300 pages. It's about this girl, Fallon, who ends up like getting fired. Oh, no. Sadie. This girl named Sadie who ends up getting fired, and she has to find a new apartment because she can't afford the apartment that she had. So she ends up finding this guy who is living in a brownstone in Brooklyn, and he is basically renting one of his rooms, but he's renting it super cheap, and she's kind of like a little freaked out by it. But she ends up meeting with him, and they end up moving in together, and she kind of has like the opportunity to like be more creative. Like she opens a flower shop, and it's just like super fun and we love. So yeah, okay, that's all the book recs. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I love y'all, and I'll see you later.